Hello and welcome to part 2 of this series on keeping backyard chickens. There is no one set way to keep backyard chickens, but this video series is basically my take on how I would keep chickens, the ideas and the methodologies involved in keeping these birds. I do hope you enjoy these videos. Now we know that water is essential to life, and as I mentioned in part 1 of this video series, chickens don't have the ability to sweat, so they lose water by radiant heat that comes out of their combs. So given this fact, the choice of how I water my birds was something that I had to really and truly do a lot of research on. Some people use general water containers and don't really make a big issue of it, but keeping these containers clean and having to constantly maintain these things was a major issue for me, as I don't really have a lot of time on my hands every day. So I had to choose between poultry nipples and these watering cups that you see here attached to the bucket that you see one of the birds drinking from. And I went ahead with the watering cups simply because of the fact that as the birds drank from it, they would dip their beaks into the cup and that would wet their beaks and the feathers below their wattles and all the way down their necks, thereby providing a greater amount of cooling, especially in hot weather. Now these articulating watering cups here are made by a company called Coop, and I ordered these online from Amazon. It was a very simple installation in that I drilled 3 holes in the bottom of that 5-gallon bucket there, and I just screwed the watering cups into it with all the necessary hardware that was provided in the packaging. I had spray painted the bucket beforehand with some paint, some can spray paint, so that everything would look neat. Now you've seen earlier on in the video I had a trough made of a piece of 4-inch diameter PVC, but that's not the primary watering apparatus. That trough is placed in the yard so that the birds would have another source of water to drink, but they do primarily drink from the bucket. So here we have the articulating cups. That's just a close-up view of them. We put 3 of them, and as the birds consume the water, what's stored in the bucket will automatically drain into the cups as needed. Now you'll see on the lid of the bucket there's some grooves there. You need to inspect these weekly in addition to the cups to monitor if any mosquito larvae have hatched in them. And we just drain out the water and flush the cups as needed to prevent these mosquitoes from breeding in those areas. I've really grown to love the convenience that this system brings, and I don't really have to worry about a clean and a steady supply of water being made available to my birds, especially in the dry season or the hotter part of the year. In trying to design the coop, there were 2 major choices that I had to face. Do I do a coop that has the entire bottom of it as a piece of mesh, or do I do a coop that has litter in it? And when there is litter, do I use sand, do I use wood shavings or sawdust? Now the major problem that a lot of poultry enthusiasts encounter is the scent of that poultry waste, especially when that litter is wet. So that major factor that influenced my choice was having to find some form of litter that dried out the chicken waste as soon as it came into contact with it. So this coop design uses sand, and it is essentially a big litter box. Now before I continue, I have to make mention of the fact that I take my health and safety very seriously, and as I clean the coop, you're not seeing this, but I have on respiratory protection. I'm in a coverall, I have eye protection. You could see that I'm wearing gloves here, and I'm trying not to let that waste come in contact with my person as much as possible. There's a very fine dust that is released, and you do not want to be inhaling that as you're cleaning the coop. But apart from this, cleaning the coop is pretty much straightforward. I use this mesh basket that you see here, and also that plastic cat litter scoop, and it doesn't take long at all. You just scoop the waste out, you sift it in the wire basket, and it goes into this bucket here. And after I have collected all the waste, I just give it a once over with this mesh basket to pick up anything that I didn't pick up with the cat litter scoop. Now this beats having to scoop out or to change wood shavings or sawdust as litter every 2 weeks. I don't really have to worry about the sand at all. The sand really does a fantastic job of drying out that waste matter and keeping everything neat and clean in the coop. I hardly really and truly get a lot of scent or foul odors in the coop as a result of using the sand. No neighbors have complained, and no one in my household has complained. And as you can see here, the coop cleans up really nicely when you're finished with it. I'm just using a piece of wood to level out the sand, making sure everything is neat and tidy before I replace these mesh panels back on the floor. Now, honestly speaking, when I designed this coop, I didn't cater for the fact that these birds would be scratching around so much in the sand. As a result of that, they started to scratch at the construction plastic that is below the sand. And that's not good, because I would eventually start losing sand from the coop. And that is why you'll see these pieces of wire mesh at the bottom of the coop there, and that's to try to get them from scratching around in the sand and bursting up that construction plastic at the bottom, but it hasn't been working well for me so far. So I'll have to go back to the drawing board there. The birds have also been kicking sand out of the coop when they're exiting the coop, which is why I have that piece of mesh there close to the ramp at the entrance of the coop. But apart from this, I haven't had a lot of issues, and as you could see here, I've gotten some really good fertilizer. Has shown that prolific growth of that tania there in that section of water tank. That covers the coop, but now we go on to the run, and this one's easy. Here you could put a large amount of lawn clippings, grass, or any other sort of leaf litter, or litter for that matter, organic matter, into the run area. Now it doesn't matter whether or not this is green or dry matter, just put an ample amount of it in the run area. That's going to balance out that nitrogen from the chicken waste and keep everything nice and clean. Now chickens will lay several eggs at a time as a clutch, and I usually collect 1 to 3 eggs per day, anywhere from 1 to 3 eggs per day. It depends on whether or not these birds are laying as a part of their clutch or not, and when they have come to the end of that clutch, they usually take a break from laying and they'll start back to lay again. So as you could see here, I got 3 on that particular day. I do have a couple fake eggs in there to encourage them, or to show them where the nest box is, so that they will come in and lay. And as you could see, I get good quality eggs. You know, they're clean, and that has to do with the food that they've been eating, the environment that you give them, the cleanliness of the coop for that matter. And I get eggs of this quality every day, and I haven't complained. The taste is really wonderful when you cook and you eat them, and you'll be really surprised to see how quickly the numbers add up when you tally how much eggs you're gonna get at the end of a week. This concludes part 2 of this video series. Stay tuned for part 3. Thanks for watching.